Another week, another episode, another podcast. And we've chosen a couple of shows that may well encourage you to seek out some more entertainment on the various streaming services across the world and across Australia. My daughter is Lauren Denikian. My name is George Denikian. And this is...
Hello. TV, it's all we've got.
TV is all we've got. We've been doing that for a few weeks. It's my daughter's creation and her genesis. She said to me, Dad, this crazy lockdown is creating havoc. I said, well, we should find the opportunity and do something, while we're locked down. And what did you come up with, Lauren?
Oh, it was just a little idea for a podcast, opportunity for us to get together and catch up weekly or sometimes twice a week.
Rediscover things we haven't had to discover over the last 30 years.
Yeah.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah.
So when you say it like that, it sounds like I've been the most what's the word I need? I need the right word. Missing father. Has it felt like that?
I mean, sometimes. I think definitely there was times when it was hard, especially like at school when, dads would come and drop their kids off and pick kids up. But also I wasn't getting picked up from mum every day either. So, I mean, it was different. But, I think we had this community of kind of single mums. So it wasn't too dissimilar to how a lot of my friends grew up. But it would have been nice, to have you there. But things happen for a reason. So we bond now.
You're a child that grew up in a gaggle of mum onlys, was it?
Yeah, pretty much. It was very heavily that.
Oh my goodness me. Well, we're making up for lost time. That's the moral of this particular podcast. Mm-hmm. And we've picked a couple of shows this week. One of them is Only Murder in the Building.
Yeah.
Which is from
you
the
can watch on
Star.
Disney Plus.
Yeah, Disney Plus. It's one of the Star original series. And it features a couple of guys who've actually done a lot of work together in the past in cinema.
Yep.
Namely Martin Short and Steve Martin, who, of course, were Father of the Bride and Father of the Bride 2. I think it was in the...
Plenty more as well.
in the 90s. But what I'm saying is these two guys are very familiar with one another. And this is another opportunity for them to get together and to do their business. And they do it in a slightly different way than we're accustomed to. And they've added a third member to this cast of stars. And I didn't see this coming.
Unsuspecting, isn't it?
Yeah. Her name is Selena Gomez. Now, I've known Selena Gomez for a whole lot of other things, but not necessarily this, which is, I suppose, a whodunit.
Yeah, it is very much a whodunit.
And it's pitched right in the heart of a city that you and I love very much.
Yeah, New York.
You and I know it pretty much like the back of our hand. Di and yourself probably know it more than me, because although I've been there quite a few times now, you've spent a lot more time there, and you've had and you have friends, great friends, and a girlfriend who you're sort of walked the streets, visited the venues that all the locals visit, and you know the difference between New Jersey, the Bronx, Upper West Side, Upper East Side, Lower East Side, and
Greenwich Village,
and
Soho,
Manhattan, and Meatpackers, and this
the list could go on.
And this particular show, not only is situated in a beautiful New York apartment building, that features an array of stars that range from Sting and Nathan Lane and a cast that you've got to just watch the series to pick out on. But it does it in a interesting way. So it's a whodunit, and it's also done as a podcast. So if you ever want to do a podcast, check this series out. And I was taking notes,
quite
by
fascinating.
the way, Lauren. I was taking
Sorry?
notes. I was taking
Oh, you were?
notes.
Okay. We might need to invest in a director, apparently.
Yeah, and we need titles.
Oh, okay.
I know you've done all the hard work behind the scenes with a jingle and an intro, but which is fantastic, might I add. And we still,
thank you.
Looking at one another, that is my wife and I, looking at one another, saying, "Where does she get all this genius from?" and clearly, it must be someone we don't know.
Well, it was probably growing up watching Steve Martin and Martin Short. Like a lot of me, you know, spending time growing up was watching TV and watching movies and, you know, learning from these great actors, comedians. You know, you pick up stuff, or you start to realize what you like to watch and continue watching shows or movies like that. And then when you are going to create something, that's what you want to create, something very similar to what you've loved growing up.
What did you make of the script?
I thought it was great. I thought it was really clever. It was very funny. You know that, I mean, Steve Martin and Martin Short were touring here together just last year, I think, or maybe it was the beginning of this year. And so you can see that they're just natural rapport with each other to improvise on the spot, which I think one of the scenes in the car, I'd like to think that was improvised. I don't think it was scripted to be like that.
What, with Aphrodite?
Yes, with Aphrodite.
Isn't she gorgeous?
And
how clever that she's in camouflage yellow, which in New York is just perfect. And I love that line.
She hasn't been driven for like 20 years, and his license expired.
I love the throwaway line from Steve Martin when he looks back. He says, "You pay for parking."
Yeah, yeah. And that's just what I love about it.
Know New York costs a bomb.
Yeah.
You know, if you live in Melbourne,
you may as well not drive.
If you live in Melbourne, if you live in Sydney, and you have to go into the city to park, and you wonder why you're paying $20 or $30, $40, $70, you haven't been to New York.
No.
Because it's like you give half your children away, and only when you get the keys back and you get the children back as well. It's like a hijacking. It's quite extraordinary.
Like as soon as they have a spare space, like if a building has been knocked down or whatnot, it's for sure guaranteed they're going to build some form of parking lot. Or even if it's just, I don't know if you ever saw them, Dad, but they are like these open kind of crates where you can stack cars on top of each other.
Yeah, when I went to Beauty on Essex, I think, with a friend of ours, Dina.
Yep.
That's where Di and I had to meet her. And remember when she took us back to take us in the car, that's where she had parked her car. And I'm sitting there looking at the stackers going, you wouldn't want to make a mistake, would you?
No way. No way. I mean, we can't even dream of that kind of thing happening here.
Yeah.
You know, we just have your regular old car park.
Yeah. So I think what you can discern from our discussion with Lauren is that this series called Only Murders in the Building.
Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah. Is worth a squeeze. As I said, it's on Disney, and it's part of their Stars original series, and it's something that has captivated people for centuries, and that is murder. We all love crime stories. We have, I suppose, half of Hollywood is movies about cops and robbers, crime stories, serial killers. So everyone seems to have this unhealthy or healthy fascination with true crime. And this series has comedy, has stars, has headliners, and it has twists and turns like you wouldn't
at every
believe.
Corner.
So check it out. It out. Yeah,
please do, because I think it's really, really well written. It's clever. I mean, the latest episode that has landed on Disney. Have you watched episode 7?
No, I'm about to see episode 7, but I've got to tell you something we haven't touched on: the music.
Oh yeah, but also because Steve Martin and Martin Short both play music. Well, especially Steve Martin plays a lot of instruments, and you get to see that side of him in this, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, it is really cool
as well.
the surprise package was Selena Gomez and how well she does some straight comedy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
it's really interesting to watch.
Yeah, it is interesting. And it's a Selena Gomez that you don't normally get to see, because she's not the glammed up singer performer. She's this character that she plays. And we should also add, the three of them have come together in the cast, but they're also all executive producers. So it seems to me, Lauren, that if we're ever going to make a series of our own, we might have to be the executive producers. Yeah.
I mean, clearly that's why we have this podcast, right? Correct. No one else will give us an opportunity with a microphone, so we'll make our own.
That's not quite true. You're on it. You're on close to it, but not quite true. You might be just telling a few porkies there.
Well, it is COVID.
Yeah, it is COVID. Now, each and every week,
if it wasn't lockdown, you would probably have plenty of opportunities with a microphone.
Oh, correct. The last 2 years has been just crazy. New South Wales is sort of easing up and opening up. Victoria's still in lockdown. Some minor concessions made. Now, with each of our podcasts over the last 4 or 5 weeks, we've talked about 2 shows. Now, I've talked about Only Murders in the Building on Disney, but I gave you a chore to do, and you said you'd be thorough, you'd get out to do it, even though it wasn't something that has music in it, nor does it have song and dance. What did you make of Vigil?
Okay, so in terms of speaking about being in lockdown, this is a whole other, stream of reality for people that work on submarines. Yeah, and this was a really interesting take. It wasn't too dissimilar from what I watch if I'm with mum, because any of these British crime shows like Die, she is all over. So although I hadn't heard of it, once I watched the trailer, I was like, oh yeah, no, this is in my wheelhouse. I really am going to enjoy this. And I did. It was like the cast was incredible. And I haven't seen Suranne Jones in a lot, but from what I've heard about the roles that she's played, they're all really, really strong female characters that are having a lot of mental health issues and that are kind of, struggling to get through that and deal with it. And so this character for her, even though she plays as a detective, really gives you an insight into how PTSD can show up in places where you don't expect, and situations that she was forced into. It was really, really hard entering into an environment where no one wants you there and seeing how different people treat you, or treat her character specifically.
Well, they don't want her, one, is because she's a woman, and it's, again, a reminder that in many areas of the world, it's still a man's world. They pay lip service, right? But she has got the imprimatur to do the job. But you watch how the dynamics work out. What is it? Do you ever see Endeavour, the British TV series Endeavour, which is based on Morse?
I've seen a couple of episodes, but I haven't watched the full series.
But the lead star who plays Endeavour Morse, the inspector, has a role as the coxswain on this submarine called Vigil, which is part of the Royal Navy's nuclear subs. Again, very topical.
Sean Evans,
very topical, because we're all talking about nuclear submarines at the moment. And we're talking about superpowers flexing their muscle, creating problems. So again, China, Russia, all these major countries that have been very much in the news over the last few years, again, dominate as a presence in the story. We don't know where it's going because, as everyone should understand, Vigil is streaming on
Binge. It's on Foxtel as well.
It's on Foxtel, correct.
But also, something you didn't mention is there are a lot of secrets. Not only on this submarine, but around this submarine.
Correct.
And so it's as she is a police detective going in to solve a murder. Well, sorry, a death that has occurred on board,
Correct.
which we learn is not accidental.
No.
And I don't think that's a spoiler alert. I mean, why would they send a detective to figure out it?
We won't spoil the series for those who haven't watched it, but you can highly recommend it. The two series, Only Murder in the Building, which is on Star, which features Selena Gomez, Martin Short, and Steve Martin, and Vigil, which has an array of stars that I
great
first
British
saw.
Actors.
Great British actors that I've seen on a number of British productions over the years, but again, who also featured in either Line of
Game of
Duty
Thrones
or Game of Thrones. They do a pretty good job.
Yeah. I mean, I think all the British shows that I've seen, I've not been disappointed with. I think they really just know how to write really honest characters, and you see how flawed they really can be. And it fascinates me how their writers can just know these characters so well.
Any story, if it's engaging, if it brings you in, if it allows you to empathize with the characters, that's a win. And I think the British writing have this, they've had this talent, have the capacity, as you touched on earlier, Lauren, to find a character and bring them to life, let them blossom in front of us or wither in front of us. They either rise to the challenge or they shrink. But
they're also not afraid to show the sides of them that aren't lovable. And I think that's something like, I mean, this series was only 6 episodes. I think each episode was an hour and something, not too long. And there was a huge character arc for a lot of these characters.
Correct.
And I mean, technically it's only meant to be taking place over a week or 2 weeks, however long it is. But you can see that each character is changing the other, and the more and more they kind of give of themselves only helps the other people. So
and it also draws you closer.
Really
and
was
closer
a fascinating
to the story,
show.
doesn't it?
Yeah. Did you guess who it was?
I had an idea, but I'm not going to reveal who it was.
Oh no, definitely not.
But
no, we're not here for spoilers.
No. I did get an inkling, but we'll talk about that afterwards. After the podcast, we'll do a debrief. I tell you something else that I learned, and I totally neglected to mention about Only Murders in the Building. It's also a great guide to dating.
Yeah. From all generations.
Yeah, we won't say more. It's like dating with your parents watching.
I'm taking notes, don't you worry. I'm taking notes. When we're allowed out of this place again, Jesus.
There are so many beautiful little gems between Steve
Martin wrote
and his bassoonist.
Yeah, but Steve Martin wrote the script as well.
Yeah. No.
Which is
again
great.
A great reveal, so great. And yet shows you again the richness of the characters and the richness of the producers who've lived.
I really wish you'd seen episode 7. I don't think I'm going to spoil it by saying, okay. So basically, there is a character in the show that is deaf. And so the whole 7th episode is basically silence.
Silence is golden.
And it's amazing.
It's Nathan Lane's son, isn't it?
Nathan Lane's son. Yep.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Okay.
Like just that whole episode.
Did you ever see Silent Movie?
I think I've probably watched bits, but I don't think I've ever seen a full movie all the way through.
Silent Movie was quite something. It was a novelty, and I can remember I had this urge to sit there, and it was beautifully done. And I had this urge throughout the whole movie, say something, somebody say something. And it was interesting, and I don't give too much away with this, but it's worth it. Marcel Marceau, the great mime artist, has a role in Silent Movie, and he's the only one that says anything, which is great irony. Huh? So the man who is known for mime is the only one with anything worthy to say, and he speaks in silent movie.
Well, that was kind of a lot of the beauty of Mr. Bean as well, that he really didn't speak much.
Well, he used the universal language of comedy.
Yeah. And do you know what?
It's like
I think because of...
It's like a cartoon.
Yeah.
Mr. Bean is a
with music, but still. And I think, especially because with improv, I've really learned to embrace the silences a lot, because it really does help in a scene sometimes. And so this episode really spoke to me in so many ways. And I feel like if you only watch it for episode 7, that's enough. I'll be really happy if people do that. It's a really fascinating watch.
That's interesting. I've lived in a world where a second was death on radio.
Oh yeah, and you'd be
or on television. Gaps doing the news. No way.
Not allowed to happen.
Unless I was picking up the phone, the news phone, to talk to the director or the producer. And I remember someone saying to me, it was the late Bruce Gengel, who was my mentor. He said to me, remember, when the camera's on you, you're in control. Don't worry about whether you're the producer or not. You are the only person in control. So if you want to hold something up, pick up the phone and tell us what you're thinking, and we will react accordingly. And that was the first and only time I can remember where I could actually pause the news, to get an instruction across to the producer or director, to remedy a problem that's on air, so we can then move on. On radio, to pause on radio, commercial radio, especially in Sydney. Mike Webb would have rung me up and said, we're going to do a radio check. Come down. We're going to sit right through lunch and listen to it. And you may not be here tomorrow. So bring it down ASAP. So very different for you to tell me you love the silences, or you love the pauses in between. That for me is so discomforting. It's like, what's happening? I keep going.
Oh no!
Press the button.
Well, you might hate this episode. Then you might absolutely hate it.
I might be stressed.
You might be.
Which is not what I got in silent movie, but there was a level of anxiety waiting for someone to speak. So I'll go back and have a look and take up the challenge to see how big the levels of anxiety grow around me while I'm watching episode 7 of Only
Murders in the Building. So what have you got for me next week? Oh, well, this week, I should say.
Have you seen The Sinner?
The Sinner? No, I haven't. That's with Jessica Biel on Netflix, right?
Yes, and she's an executive producer of the series.
I haven't watched it.
Have you watched Naomi Watts in Gypsy?
No.
Okay. Well, let's just hold on to that thought for a moment, because we might do a debrief and come up and surprise everyone next week. What do you think?
No.
You want me to set you a task?
Yeah. Yes, please.
All right. I want you to watch The Sinner.
Okay. On Netflix.
On Netflix.
Yep. I can do that.
Okay.
Yep.
Stand by, Australia. What am I going to watch?
You are going to watch The White Lotus.
The White Lotus?
The White Lotus, which is on Foxtel. It's on Binge.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is The White Lotus?
So it's a comedy. Well, it's a dark comedy, kind of satire, about a hotel in Hawaii. And that's all I'm going to give you.
I've stayed at a hotel in Hawaii.
As have I.
The Sheraton Moana Surf Rider.
Okay, I didn't stay at that one.
On Oahu. Next to
Maybe I stayed in a hostel compared to what you stayed in.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah. No, this is definitely a resort on like the north side of Hawaii. I mean, I don't know, I'm making that up, but yes.
Okay.
What happens
So
when you put a whole lot of rich white people in Hawaii, basically?
So White Lotus for me.
White Lotus for you, and the Sinner for me.
Sinner for you. Okay.
The Sinner.
Until next week, daughter.
Done. All right. Bye-bye.